Ready Check Radio. What's up, Internet? It's Monday, 7 p.m. Eastern, and that means, at least for the month of April, it's time for the Relic Grind on Ready Check Radio, your Final Fantasy XIV Square Enix podcast. I'm your host, Mike Byrne. As always, we've got 6.1 patch notes. We've kind of reviewed it to death, but maybe there's a few things hidden in there, and with Yoshi P's kind of review of the patch notes today, maybe there's a couple things in there that the gang wants to talk about. As we head into 6.1 tomorrow morning, our time, we're also going to talk about the Kingdom Hearts 20th anniversary announcements and what that might mean else could be on the horizon. And it's that time again. The Opus 16 Final Fantasy TCG set has been officially all revealed. So we'll run down the legends and let you know what we think's hot, what we think's not, and finish it up with love it or leave it. Remember, no show next week. Taking the week off because of my schedule with the show. I apologize. I'm very thankful I have two lovely volunteer hosts who are very patient with me in switching things around. It is much appreciated. We'll be back to normal in May. But that'll give everybody like 11 days to get as deep into 6.1, and we won't have to worry about spoilers because everybody will be pretty much done by then as far as MSQ goes. So we will not be having a show next week. We will return on Monday the 25th to go over all of our thoughts from 6.1. If you're watching on YouTube or Ready Check Radio, head on over to the website. Socials are all in the upper right-hand corner. Give us a click, a like, a comment, a subscribe on all the socials out there. YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, Twitch, you know it. Show some support, show some love for people like Chris Montoya, a.k.a. Tarkoth. What's up, sir?
Greetings, programs. With that Kingdom 4 Hearts announcement, I'm ready to bust out the old meme. You ready for it?
Oh, boy.
Here we go. That's right.
Pretty much.
We're going back to Crazy Town.
Pretty much. Pretty much.
I know Cronus is excited about it.
Oh, I know. As soon as I saw it, I was like, ugh, there's a topic Adam Lane's not going to want to discuss. What's up, Kronos?
Yeah, I mean, we could talk about it when it comes out, and I'm like 55 years old, if you want.
Yeah, I mean, it is just an in-development announcement. We'll get to it in a little bit here to talk about it in some more detail. But first, gents, let's take a look. We'll kick it off and kind of finish it off very quickly on the topic of Final Fantasy XIV. We, of course, did have 6.1 patch notes come out last week, the preliminary patch notes. We've now had Yoshi P's review of the patch notes via today's stream presentation for that as well. I don't want to rehash like the big things, right? We did that last week where we went through the PvP and our thoughts on it. But as you surfed through the beefy-ass patch notes, the beefy patch notes for 6.1, Cronus, did anything jump off the page at you as, hey, we didn't know that yet? Or, oh, that's something that nobody's even really mentioned yet. What did you like?
I always go straight to the battle changes. That's like the first thing I do. Because they don't really tell you everything, like leading up. So
no, I mean, we only had, not only did we not have all the changes for the classes they did discuss, but we didn't even have all the jobs revealed change-wise at all when we talked about it last week.
Yeah, so I think I'm finally confident enough to say that, like, White Mage isn't in the dumpster anymore.
No.
I think it's pretty, like, a lot of, like, a couple of the changes are actually pretty good. I think they still need a couple more changes. I think Astro's still better, but that's fine. Like, one of them's probably always going to be slightly better. But I think these changes were, like, much needed. I think Dark Knight got the most, though. They finally fixed like everything that people have been asking for, and Living Dead's finally also not trash anymore.
Right.
And they actually addressed the concern that I think I brought up after we like talked about the live letter last time, where I was kind of worried that like you'd cleanse early and die. but they actually seem like they had that figured out. So I'm just interested to see. I think some stuff still isn't quite enough, but I think overall the changes are good. And I'm interested to see how it like turns out for Ultimate. But those were really the two big ones for me. And then other than that, like just reading through all the PvP stuff, there's a lot.
There was, that's like I said, when you look, when you run down the list of features Tarkin 6.1, as we've done on a few shows here, as we got the live letter and then the patch notes and et cetera, you kind of, we talked about it, people getting the impression of, well, if you're not into Ultimate, there's not really a lot here. And if you think about it, content-wise, it is easy to look at the list and say, it's a pretty small list. You got some MSQ, you got a new dungeon, you got a 24-person raid, you got your Ultimate, you got your Unreal, you got your PvP. And, that's a short list when you look at it from the 30,000-foot view like that. It's a very short list. Not to say that there's not a lot of things to do there, but it's, 6 or 7 items if you look at it just on the surface level. But when you start getting into the PvP notes in particular, but even some other things on these notes, there is a lot going on. A lot going on.
There's a lot of little stuff. There's a lot of quality of life for the job changes themselves, especially kind of the lower end for healers, like MP management and stuff like that. Some of the most surprising stuff I took away was Dark Knight's Living Dead, the fixing inner release for Warrior, White Mages. Oh my God, so much love there. I got a nice change in Adder Sting. I don't have to prep all these shields at the beginning of every pull. That's very nice. But PvP, man, I can't wait to dive into that. What surprised me there was it seems like there's no MP usage outside of the self-heal for everyone. So awesome. You can just use whatever abilities you want and just have fun with the matchups without worrying about your MP gauge.
We also got to see a lot of the starting locations for some things, namely the MSQ, the 24-person raid. So anything revealed to you that maybe gives you an idea of where we could be heading? I mean, with the 24-person starts in Old Charlian, and okay, it starts in Old Charlian. That's actually a little weird to me when you think about it, but okay. Any of the other locations kind of strike you as maybe a bit unusual?
I don't think so. I think that's also a bit of a red herring too, because they're going to go straight to Mordona. Pretty sure.
Yeah, they have to. You have to, right?
Yeah. I mean, you see like Rambros in there. Like you're going right back. You're going to start there. I assume because it's going to branch off the main scenario quest. You're probably going to like be in Old Charlian when it branches or something. And then it's just going to go right back to Mordona.
I'm guessing from a lore standpoint, it's based off something that someone finds in the library, and they're like, "Oh, we should research that," kind of deal. So,
no surprise, probably that the MSQ is kicking us off in the Rising Stones, right? I mean, that's just Let's head on back and talk to Tataru a little bit and see what's been going down. Of course. But this is so here's one that's a little weird. Normally, the patches end with the title quest. 6.1 starts with Newfound Adventure being the name of the quest.
Kind of makes sense, right?
Yeah, I mean, it totally makes sense, but it is a deviation from what would normally be the norm in the questing names. Probably makes sense. Doesn't really mean much. It's just a quest name, but an interesting little observation. I kind of was like, oh, that's different. That's different. Have we done it before? I can't remember. I couldn't remember going through it. I was like, have we ever done that before? Usually it's just the last quest.
I think it's always the last. Because even like the expansions, you're like, oh, I'm on the last quest. Endwalker.
Endwalker. Yep. Yep. Adventure plates going into beta.
Woohoo.
Yeah.
New
There we go. New endgame. New endgame. Other than that, I mean, I'm ready. What are your plans, Kronos? I know you already have raid night tomorrow night.
Yeah.
So are you getting up bright and early to jump on? What's the deal?
Oh yeah. I always do that. So I mean, y'all you take your time. I'll be done tomorrow. With pretty much everything, more than likely. At least like my first go through. I definitely want to put a lot of time into PvP though, so I doubt like I'll even be remotely. I don't even know if I'm gonna get to PvP tomorrow, but I'd like to at least try a couple games because it looks interesting. I did hear that maybe in casual queue you can't queue up with anyone, which is kind of disappointing to me. But I don't know if that's true or not. I heard like the Japanese notes had a line that the English notes didn't have that said you had to solo queue for both, which means
I think
that
it's the custom one that you can do whatever.
yeah, which is disappointing because like I'd like to just queue up with one friend or two, but it is what it is. I'll still try it. I am a little worried though that healers are still gonna be really good, but we'll see.
Of course, we're the best. We're needed for everything.
I mean, they look pretty strong. Just saying, just from an initial read, but who knows until you get in there and they actually play. So
I can't wait to dash in and flug them and then dash out.
the limit breaks are nutty.
Yeah, they are.
The Sage one is pretty dumb.
Oh
honestly.
yeah, Panheima after all that. Oh yeah.
Yeah, well, you're just invincible. It's like a 5-man hollowed ground.
It's so
It's
good.
like it's the Thunderdome. It's like
Paladin one's not bad either. They get hollow ground and then 50% less damage for everyone else too. So
the White Mage one is like kind of plain but very good. Like I think that's one of the best ones too. It's not like really exciting, but it does a lot of things. So
Tark, what about you? Bright and early?
Oh yeah, bright and early. Plan on hitting MSQ, then diving in the 24-man. Might take a little break to do some PvP, but the EX trial I'm getting with my new Ultimate group to try that out and kind of us to finally get together and see how we all work together before Ultimate launches. And then I got a show to do with frequent viewer Flynn tomorrow, and then Savage Reigning with the Savage team. So it's a packed day for me tomorrow.
Yeah, it's a busy one. I'll be doing the Flynn show with Tark. We'll be talking about Final Fantasy there. That'll be tomorrow at 6 p.m. Eastern time. If you're following Ready Check Radio on Twitter, we'll be sure to retweet it out so you can come and support Flynn as he starts on his endeavor. He's done wonders supporting us, showing up for shows and things like that. So, and if you're watching this on YouTube after the fact, I'll be sure to pin a link to it wherever he posts it in the comments on YouTube and on Ready Check Radio, so you can go show some love and show some support. I'm not going to be getting up bright and early. I've got a training call I've got to do at 9 a.m., so I don't want to get started just to then not have to get started. But yeah, my plan is I want MSQ, at least one run through the 24-person, and then some PvP time over the next 48 hours. That's like while you guys go ahead and jump into Ultimate, I'll get there. I'm in no hurry. That's what I want to take off.
For another 2 weeks.
Yeah,
so.
you got 2 weeks for it anyway.
yeah.
But so yeah. I'm very excited. New content. It's always exciting.
Hell yeah.
Always exciting and a brand newfound adventure. So we'll see where we're headed. We'll finally get to see where we're headed. That about wraps it up for 14. I mean, that's pretty much all we expected this week. But we do have other Square Enix news as Kingdom Hearts celebrates its 20th anniversary. 20th anniversary. Yes. And as part of the 20th anniversary, we got some reveals, some official reveals. Now, the trailer I'm showing is kind of like their 7 or 8 minute announcement video. You can check it out on YouTube. It starts off with Kingdom Hearts Missing Link. So that's the footage you're watching now, which is a mobile game that is in development. And a bit later in the trailer, it's going to transition over to Kingdom Hearts 4. It's official, boys. Kingdom Hearts 4 is in development. That's it.
I will say that with the initial trailer, I was like, this looks way different than all the previous Kingdom Hearts. I didn't know what to make of it at first.
Yeah, and when we get to the footage, you'll see, if you haven't seen it yet for some reason, when we get to the footage, you'll notice that it is a bit more on the realistic side than on the Disney side. That's not to say it's photorealistic, real human Soras or anything, but definitely skewing more away from the cartoon and more to almost a darker, more adult-looking aesthetic. I know, Kronos, that you're not a huge Kingdom Hearts guy.
I was.
You were.
I was.
Yeah. And then things went crazy.
And then he went Charlie Day and went crazy.
All they said was
it's the 20-year anniversary was me waiting for the third game.
Right.
Yeah.
All they said was 4 is in development, and by the way, this is all development footage. It is subject to change, so even though it's got that kind of like a little more realistic style, that could end up not being the style that the game is in when it actually comes time to release. They're not saying anything about release, obviously, at this point, so we don't know if it's 2 years away, 15 years away. Kingdom Hearts 4, they did say, takes place in the city of Quadratum and introduces a new character, Strelitzia, who is also in the trailer when we get there. Their quote, Sora makes triumphant return with an updated look at the beginning of an epic new storyline titled The Lost Master Arc. Beginning with Sora facing off in a boss battle against a giant enemy, players are introduced to the Quadratum, a large, expansive city set in a gorgeous, realistic world unlike anything ever seen before in the Kingdom Hearts series. Fans will be excited to see the return of Sora's well-known companions Donald and Goofy, in addition to the first appearance of Strelitzia, a mysterious new character who appears before Sora in this strange new setting. And then, of course, you will have the side story, Kingdom Hearts Missing Link, which will be available on Android and iOS. They will have a closed beta in, quote, specific regions this August. So mobile shooting its way into beta in just a few months. I wish I could say that I was like thrilled with the announcement, gents. I am a little more forgiving than Kronos. I still enjoy Kingdom Hearts. My son Torchwick has platinumed every Kingdom Hearts game I think he's finishing one of the handheld games right now. But other than that, has platted all of them. I've beaten them, but I have no desire to sit there and farm gummy parts and shit like that for the plats. It's just not the way. It's just not the way I roll, Tark. Just not the way. Oh, 500? Nah.
I'm good.
I'm good. Let's go play Stranger of Paradise. Check that game out. Kingdom Hearts 3 kind of soured me a little bit. And I don't know if you guys feel the same, but I'm not saying it's a bad game. I don't think it is by any stretch of the imagination. I found it enjoyable, but as a Final Fantasy fan, I was severely disappointed with the lack of Final Fantasy representation in Kingdom Hearts. And I know that was something they said, well, we're going to address it in the DLC, and they did a little bit here and there, but it was like Kingdom Hearts 1 was just so perfect. It's just so perfect. And then Kingdom Hearts 2 was okay. Yeah, all right. That's cool. And then my curve has just gone down. I'm excited by the new look. I'm excited by some speculation we're going to talk about in just a minute. Definitely excited about some speculation. But I just need some more Final Fantasy in my Kingdom Hearts there, Tark. Is that so wrong?
No, it should be. That's the thing with a kind of collaboration like this. There should be a good balance between the Disney stuff and the Square stuff. And it doesn't even have to be just Final Fantasy. They can pull from any of their stuff to put into Kingdom Hearts. But it's so Disney heavy. It's hard to get the Square Enix fans super excited. I know they're excited about Kingdom Hearts, but if that and the delay of it coming out, not to mention all the side projects like Chains of Memories and 386 divided by 2, whatever. I don't know. It's just there's so much, and the web of Charlie Day just turns a lot of people off, I guess.
Kronos, can we get you back with a little speculation though?
I guess. Look,
here's a screenshot taken from the trailer you were just watching.
No.
that seems to show in the upper right-hand corner, circled there, a foot of a droid, a vehicle, very, very similar to some things you might see in Star Wars.
Yeah.
Now, obviously, Star Wars owned by Disney now, so fair game. If you want to put it in here, can I get you on board with a little Star Wars in your Kingdom Hearts, Kronos?
I have a love-hate relationship with Star Wars too, man. They get me though. They get me to come back somehow every time. I don't know how, but they do. I mean, it's cool. If this could be that, like, Marvel could be in there too, which I really like. But like, I don't know. I think Nomura is like really, like, it's been said in chat already. I think he just wants to make Versus 13 disguised as a Kingdom Hearts game. I really think that's what he's trying to do. There could be a little bit of bait and switch too, where you have this realism stuff, but then you show Donald and Goofy at the end, where like maybe there's going to be like two different graphical sets where like he goes to different worlds, and when he comes back to the Disney worlds, he just looks like old Sora.
Yeah.
But the game's so far away.
So when he's in the Quadratum, it's very realistic, and then
like,
here you go, off to Neverland, and we look like Peter Pan.
Because I mean, you need that if you're going to put him in Star Wars with like graphics the way they are today. He has to look like he belongs a little bit, And if you just stick Sora with his goofy size 18 shoes,
I think it would depend on where you put him, though. Like if you put him in the Star Wars movie universe, then I think you have to. You're right. You skew more towards the realistic view. But if you put him in, say, like the Clone Wars animated series
Rebels,
type, or Rebels, then I think you can get away with a little more animated / maybe not proportionate Sora. It's certainly interesting. We know we're years away from this. It's just a question of how many at this point. But we'll at least be able to get our hands in some regions on the closed beta for the mobile version. Gotta say though, Kronos or Tark, little nervous. Square has not been gaining my confidence with monetization in any way, shape, or form over the last half dozen or so releases. And
this whole last year has been monetization hell.
Yeah, it really has. So we'll keep an eye. What this does do, though, is lend even more credence, gentlemen, to those NVIDIA leaks way back when that we discussed on the show that were clearly just placeholders. Besides this one and this one, NVIDIA said the rest were just placeholders, assumed titles that might exist.
Sure.
So at the time, it revealed a bunch of different Square Enix titles, an unannounced title, a Final Fantasy VII Remake PC version, a remaster of Chrono Cross, God of War, Uncharted Legacy of Thieves for the PC, those two. So, we've had a lot of those things come out. So, more or less likely or unchanged, Kronos, on Final Fantasy IX getting its remake.
So, while I do agree it adds one more to the list, I think this about stays the same. Just because I think Kingdom Hearts 4 is like, I could just throw a dart on the board and be like, yeah, they're definitely making that. Like, just to that point, I don't think it really adds anything to it other than it's another game on the list, which I mean, I guess kind of does. I think it's pretty likely still, though. I think last time I gave it a pretty high percentage, but I don't think that percentage has really changed because of this. So I think the Chrono Cross thing was more of a tell than this, I guess is more what I'm saying.
Right. Tark, more likely, less likely?
I think we're at, with the list for just Square Enix alone, I think there's only two that haven't been announced, and that's the Final Fantasy IX remake and the Tactics remaster. Just in the last 6 days, we had Chrono Cross remaster release on the 7th. 6 days ago, they finally announced the new Tomb Raider with Unreal Engine 5. So that was on the list. That's now checked off. And now they released Kingdom Hearts 4. So I'm now at 99% that these other two are going to come within the next year. I'm not sure. It's Square Enix is so packed for 2022. It's incredible. Such a good time to be a fan for Square. But it's pretty much definite that these are going to come. It's a matter of when, not if.
Yeah, and you mentioned the Tomb Raider Unreal 5. And we also have the new Tactics Ogre trademark.
Oh yeah, that was. Oh yeah.
Yeah. So,
I'm
but
stoked.
that do we? What do we think on this one though, Kronos? The Tactics Ogre trademark that Square filed. Do you think this is a remake or are they going to do a remaster?
I just hope it's not a mobile game. That is where my mind goes. My mind goes straight
don't
there.
even say it out
Look,
loud.
man, I'm just telling you where my head goes, okay?
Why you got to put that in the ether?
I don't think I needed to put
gross.
that there. I think that already exists. I love Tactics Ogre. I love tactics games in general. I buy pretty much all of them that release, or at least the ones that I'm aware of. I hope this is like a remake or a new title. I just hope it's not a mobile game. That's it.
I can't believe you said the quiet part out loud. Oh, awful. I mean, yeah, it's a high probability that it could very well be that, but I do not want it to be that either. You just hate seeing like these titles that have this reverence behind them as, you know, those are classics, just relegated to, well, let's make a mobile port or let's make a PC port that doesn't work.
Yeah. I just hope that if it is a full-fledged, you know, like console or PC game, whatever, not mobile, that people really support it, because I want to see them bring back and maybe redo Ogre Battle, March of the Black Queen. I want to see Ogre Battle 64 come back. You know, Night of Lotus. That whole Ogre series needs some love. They're such great games.
Oh yeah.
And they've shown that they're willing to do remasters, but if they put something out and it doesn't get received well, they might just shove that in the back and never touch those. So
Yep. Speaking of that, by the way, I will. Did either of you have any time to mess around with the Chrono Cross remaster?
I haven't yet. I heard the port was like less than great.
It's not. It's not great on PC. The graphics, like they're fine. The backgrounds don't look quite right in a lot of areas because of the additional pixels, the additional touch up, the additional color palette. Like some of them look beautiful when you're running around, and then some of them just like look blurry because they're just like splashes of color. I will tell you this: if you were a huge Chrono Trigger fan and Chrono Cross fan, to me, it's worth the $20 just to go play Radical Dreamers.
Oh, okay.
If you never experienced that because it was a Japanese only thing, I would have spent $20 on just that, an official translated in English version. But that doesn't mean that I can't also be disappointed in some aspects of Chrono Cross. It's still a great game, but they do it again with this. They just don't port very well. It's like does it work? Does it run? Cool. Sell it.
Yeah, I heard. I mean, most of the stuff I heard was that like the price point is great. $20 for that game is awesome. I think if you haven't played it before, you know, and you don't have the original hardware, the thing is that doesn't really help is a lot of reviewers are saying like, if you can play it on the PS1, go buy the PS1 and just play the old game.
Yeah.
That's not really like good to hear.
Yeah, it's not a ringing endorsement.
Yeah, but like, you know, $20, and it's not like most people are saying it's like crazy worse. It's just like they're just saying the original version.
Yeah, it's a little sloppy. That's all.
Yeah.
It's a little sloppy. It's not like when we got some of the original Final Fantasies ported from mobile versions onto the PC, or Chrono Trigger, which, good lord, the PC version of it's nothing like that.
Yeah.
It's playable. You'll enjoy it. It's fun. But if you played the original, you'll probably notice things that, like I'm talking about, when you're running around near the beach areas and there's all that coral and stuff like that. It's just like, well, that doesn't quite look right. Like the background almost looks a little blurry because it's high res now. So, but yeah, Radical Dreamers portion of it, I would have paid $20 just for the official version of that. All right, gents, let's do it. Opus 16, Final Fantasy TCG comes out this week. It's also pre-release weekend here in the United States because Square's shipping both at the same time. And it's also Easter, so that ought to be fun, getting things scheduled with your local game stores, There are plenty around for product. If you aren't following the key groups on Facebook, please do. Head on over to Facebook and search Final Fantasy TCG fans, Final Fantasy TCG North America, and there's probably pages for your local areas as well. Plenty of online locations, including The Light in Los Angeles. And we've got Cards of Ivalice, James Lockwood, who's been in our chat many times, hanging out. Now opening a store in Florida, for those of you in Florida.
Ooh.
Looks beautiful. He and his wife doing a ton in there, and their partners. I'm sorry.
Come to Boise.
Credit everybody. I mean, it looks beautiful. They're getting ready for some fun there. So definitely check them out. If you don't have local stores, all of those people that I just mentioned to you would say support your local store first. And they have said that in my chat. They agree. But if you don't have a local store and you're looking for product, hit up some of those. Those are some of the fine people behind the community that I can personally vouch for and know they don't buy advertising here. So it's a totally legit endorsement. Emissaries of Light comes out this week. We're going to do what we always do and run down the legends before we hit love it or leave it. And we'll kind of rate them like we always do, gents, on a 1 through 10 scale on... We kind of get sidetracked a little bit sometimes here. How much we may personally like the card, of course, factors into it. We try to keep the 1 through 10 based on, like, is it going to see play? Does it warp the meta? That type of thing. But we're all totally fucking biased, so deal with it. It's a 1 through 10. Shut up. And we do have multiple points of experience here to kind of represent everybody. Kronos, the lapsed competitive player, myself, the current competitive player, and Tarkoth representing kind of the newer side.
Straight up
playing FFTCG. So we kind of give you all the aspects here, and that's what I love about doing this with these guys. First up, we're just going to take them in elemental card number order, if that works for you, gents. Let's pull up Squall, a 4-drop 8K fire forward that says if either player has 2 cards or less in their hand, Squall gains haste. If both you and your opponent have no cards in hand, Squall gains first strike brave, and Squall could attack twice in the same turn. When Squall attacks, deal 4K damage to all the forward's opponent controls. When Squall is blocked, deal 4K damage to all the forward's opponent controls. Can we just say nutty as hell? I mean, that is a lot of really good text. That is just a lot of stupid good text in an element that can totally take advantage of like 90% of that text. Might be a little hard with the card count, but if you pair this, because it is Squall, seed candidate, right? You might want to pair this with Fire Ice and get your discard in there, not just because you want low hands, but because Fire Ice does work well together, has since basically the Cat 6 discard deck was a thing a few opuses ago. Well, a few. My God, it's like 9 opuses now.
It was a while ago.
Yeah.
I was still playing. I had just recently started playing when that was like really good.
Yeah.
That was a long time ago. Yeah.
This one's a little nutty. Where do you put it, Kronos? Where do you put it?
I think it's because it's really just, to me, it strikes me as like you're putting this in like one archetype, really.
Yeah.
I think it only is going to go in Fire Ice. I think Mono Fire probably has better options just to do more. I'm not saying this guy's bad. Like if you want, like,
well, you got to respect that ping, even in just a Mono Fire.
Oh,
right.
yeah,
just
yeah,
doing
yeah.
the 4K on swing and the 4K on block. Like, I mean, that's very threatening for sure.
Yeah.
I think if you can somehow get the first strike, he's just unblockable at that point.
You just have to take the 2 damage.
Yeah. So like if you can like get those 2 things, I think he's very strong. I don't know how good. Like I'm assuming that Fire Ice got some more support. I haven't read like every card yet. But I think just face value, he's pretty strong. I don't think he's like insane to me, but I think he's just like really good.
Yeah, I think it's just solid. Like it is absolutely a solid card. I can obviously see it in Fire Ice, right? That's its home. I can see it in some very particular mono fires.
Mm.
Right now, gang, we live in a meta where 2K or 2-drop 5K forwards are all over the place in the current meta. A 4K ping on swing is dangerous. I'm gonna probably put it at like an 8. I don't think it warps the meta. I think it makes a deck that might not have been exactly meta anymore a little more relevant in the meta. And it certainly helps it out. It is job seed candidate. That's good for many, many reasons. If you have been messing around with seed candidates or Cat 8 lately. Tark, newer player, what do you think of this guy? What do you think of Squall here?
I think your guys are right. He's very solid. And I was just thinking, you have some summons that do a little bit of splash damage. He can just take out a few forwards and leave himself a good opening. And you're like, well, what am I going to do? So.
Yeah, you just swing and then drop Blaze in main 2? I mean, God, that's gross. That's gross.
Yeah, you're probably killing 2 things.
Yeah, you're probably killing 2 things, and you probably did a point of damage because they didn't want to block them.
Yeah.
Like think about that. You put your opponent in a spot where it's like, well, I'm not going to block because then all of my forwards are going to take 8K. I'll just take the damage, and Blaze comes in and mops up 2 forwards anyway. Gross. Yeah, I'll give it the 8. Tark, where do you put it?
An 8 sounds really good. Yeah.
Kronos?
Solid.
I'm just like very slightly lower, so I'm going to go a 7, but I think it's really good.
I think it's fair. Like, I wouldn't argue a 7. Lots of good text on Squall. And then we move over to another category, FFTA2 legend. 6-drop Luso, 5K power, speaking of 5K power forwards. At the beginning of the attack phase during each of your turns, so on your turn only, if you've received 5 points of damage or less, shuffle your deck, then reveal the top card of your deck. If it's a fire character, you may play it onto the field. And at damage 6 gets the additional trigger. At the beginning of the attack phase during each of your turns, you may search for 1 fire character and play it directly onto the field. No limitations on that damage 6, besides it being damage 6, which, yes, how many times are you going to get a damage 6 trigger in this game and not just be dead anyway? But it does happen. And all you got to do is make it to your attack phase. That's all. You don't need Luso at 5K power to swing. You just got to make it to your attack phase for both of these triggers. Tark, what do you think?
I like it. Yeah. More mono fire, I'm guessing, so that you can ensure that you get fire.
100%.
Yeah.
100%.
But yeah, anything that you can get out onto the field without having any sort of cost is win-win there.
The thing that neat text, that costs 6. I think that feels bad.
Pricey.
That feels a little bad, I think, Kronos. Like, I'd feel better if he were 5.
Sure. I think he's nuts. he like, again, he only goes in 1 deck, well, 1 archetype, right? Which is mono fire. Like, you're not putting this guy in anything that's not mono fire. But like, he's gonna.
No,
hit.
you're not spending 6 to miss. No.
Yeah, like he's gonna hit. Like, you have to kill him. Yeah, immediately.
Yeah, priority target.
Because like, even if you just he lives for 2 turns and he flips like 2 backups and you get to play 2 backups for free, he's already kind of paid for himself at that point.
Yeah, value town at that point.
If you get damage 6, you probably just win the game. But like, it's. I think he's nuts. I think he is nuts. And what makes it a little worse in my book is not worse as in the card being worse, but worse for your opponent is the deck that he goes in already has things you need to answer immediately when they hit the board.
Yeah, like Squall.
I mean, there's just so much, like, how many answers can you have, right? Like, it's like, you got to answer this, and then you're going to have to answer this, and you're going to have to answer this. I know a friend of mine, Creon in Locals, who really doesn't care about any of the text on this. He just likes that it's card named Luso for Luso Special in an FFTA2 deck, a different Luso Special. So great, more card named Luso for him. But it's a little scary. I will say this, I do like that they were a little more intelligent about the design on this one than maybe they have been on some cards in the past, where you can't front that top card. You can't peep the card or get something.
First,
yeah. They prompt the shuffle before the reveal, which means the last person to touch your deck before the reveal is going to be your opponent. So I do like that they were a little forward thinking, and that might seem lame to point out for those of you that like play Magic the Gathering or Yu-Gi-Oh and are used to this. There have been some bad decisions in card design in FFTCG in the past, and I'm sure there will be in the future. It happens in every game, but I do like that they are at least trying to fix some of these things. Here's the thing. I'm going to rate this lower than Squall, though. His text is nutty. If it works, it's gonna go ape shit, and you're gonna win. My thing is twofold on this. You are only getting this trigger, one, if your opponent doesn't understand the game or is newer to the game, or two, just flat out can't do anything about it. And so it takes a little bit of prep in that situation to work. Can you flush out, the Amat before you play Luso, so that going to combat doesn't get Luso Amatted right off the board and cancel the ability at the same time, right? It's going to take a little bit of flushing. I do also have to kind of docket points because it is only useful in a mono fire deck. You are not paying 6 to run any opportunity of missing, and I know there are ways that you can mitigate those a little bit while still splashing other colors a little bit, but that shuffle really makes it risky to really be doing it. I'm going to knock it down to like a 6.5. I want to give it a 7, but I just don't think it's going to see a ton of play for as cool as a card. I think the card is really cool. I just don't think it's going to see a lot of play. So I'm going to keep it under a 7 at a 6.5 and hopefully be surprised when it's a 9, because in mono fire it just starts trucking all over the place. I wouldn't be surprised to see it, Kronos.
Yeah, for me, I think it's a 9. I think it's just, even though it only goes in one deck, I do agree. I just think it's what it does when it actually works is very strong. And it
no doubt. I can't argue any of this.
Yeah, and sometimes it's gonna lead to just cascading stuff, right? Where you're gonna get something, you're gonna get slightly lucky to get something that then gets something else.
Yeah.
And now you've gained just a bunch of card advantage. One thing to note too, just a slight weakness too, I guess, you can also whiff on a summon. If you get a summon, you don't really get that. So there's that weakness. But I just think, I don't know if you're playing 3 of this guy, but I think when he works, he works. And it's not very hard. Like you said, you do have to get to the attack phase, but at least it's your first attack phase. So it's not like he has to survive a full turn. They have to be ready for him to come out.
Yeah.
Which at 5K, you can kill him.
Yeah, and in your mono fire deck, there are plenty of things that you're playing that they're going to want to Amat. So you can probably bait it out. I can't argue with anything you're saying. It would be very easy for me to say a 9. I just don't think it's going to see the type of play that in my brain warrants a 9, maybe. Yeah. That could just be me on that one. What do you think, Tark?
I was going to give it an 8.5. I just think for its own purpose, it's super awesome. That what knocks it down for me is just that high cost, the 6, but you can get some of that back within the first turn or 2 if it survives 2 turns. He's awesome.
Yeah, it's just crazy. It's what if you flip a Braska's Final AR?
Oh my god!
You just it's gross.
Yeah. Then we head to Ice, 3-drop 7K forward, Cloud of Darkness. When Cloud of Darkness enters the field, you may pay 2 crystals. When you do so, choose one forward opponent controls, remove it from the game. As long as Cloud of Darkness is on the field, your opponent cannot play any copies of the removed card. And at damage 3, Cloud of Darkness becomes 9K instead of 7K. So damage 3 and up. Kronos, what do you think of our lovely lady friend here?
I like. I mean, I guess slightly spoiler. I like the Ice Legends a lot. I think this is really cool, and just the fact that you lock your opponent out of the card also is pretty awesome. Like if you hit
this is the first
thing,
time we've seen this type of effect in the game too, where normally it'll reference card name X or remove lightning from the game, and this is the first time that we've seen, hey, you know what, I'm gonna take that forward of yours, Kronos, I'm gonna take that squall, I'm gonna remove it from game, and you cannot play another copy of that squall, not just the one I RFG'd, but the other ones you may be running in your deck. You can't play them until you deal with this.
Right.
That's a unique new play space for FFTCG.
I as a control player, typically, I like this effect a lot. I think it's really cool. The only thing that gets me is I'm kind of like not sure if the crystal stuff has gotten a lot more support, so I don't know if it's like a lot easier to get the crystals set up.
Well, the crystals just came last set.
Right.
This is the second set of 3 that are focusing on the crystal mechanic. And that's something we could, we're going to talk about on one of the FFTCG streams. I can't do it tomorrow because we're going to be doing Flynn's show. But I'll have starter decks to open. I'll have boosters to open and all kinds of shit for next week to open. The crystal support is like all over the place with this set. Like Lightning didn't get any crystal spenders, so it's very weird. The crystals
maybe they're
are in a
afraid
weird
of
spot.
Lilith. Maybe they're afraid because Lilith exists. I don't know.
Yeah, well, because she could just bounce forwards.
Yeah. So I mean, if you can get the 2 crystals, I do really like this effect. That's the only thing that really like slightly holds it back for me. Is it seems kind of, I say expensive. It's only 2, but like I don't know how easy it's going to be to get 2 out to then use this, and it just seems like a thing you might get like once a game, something like that. So
yeah, and we may talk in a little bit here. Ice did get a particular forward that will help with crystal generation as well in this set. So a little bit of help there, in addition to things like the 2-drop backups or the 3-drop. I can't even remember how much they cost. The other 2-drop, the ones that get you crystals on the way in. So it could definitely be popped. It dies. Here we go again, right? It dies to a Mott if you're at damage 0, 1, or 2.
Yeah.
And of course, you will have spent the 2. Well, if your opponent has any semblance of skill, they will let you pay those 2 crystals,
right?
And then Amod it. So a little dicey there. I love the effect though. Tark, what do you think?
Mainly because I don't have any experience with the crystals. I haven't really played since the last expansion dropped. I probably have to just give it a 5. It's the only thing I see that I can really wrap my head around is the damage 3 plus 2000. So for a 3-drop, 9K, that's not too shabby.
That's above curve. That's above curve.
Above curve there. It's just I don't have experience with the new crystal mechanic. So
this is one I'm gonna mess with. I do like this card. I'm a little with you, Kronos. I'm a little worried on how consistently I can keep 2 crystals, because there are things in the archetype that I'm going to mess with it in that I'm going to use crystals for as well. And so that does have me a little concerned on whether it'll be consistent or not. I am going to mess with this. And I think other people are too. I wouldn't call it meta warping or anything like that. It is a new play space, and so I can appreciate that. So I'm going to give it an 8. Because I think it starts playing with an area that FFTCG hasn't played with much yet, and I'm always in favor of that, even if it's not going to warp the meta. So I'm going to put it at an 8.
Yeah, I think I'm right there with you with an 8, just because I really like the effect. Like, if I could just like play this and like hit a Vaughn, or just hit like one of the Avalanche operatives, right? Like, I mean, that's really good. They have to kill her then, otherwise, like literally, they lose a third of their engine. So
could you imagine if it said choose a character?
If you could hit a backup, it would be pretty nuts.
That would be nuts. That would be nuts. All right, let's continue on with Ice and talk about Shantoto, a 4-drop 8K forward. If your opponent has 1 card or less in their hand, cost required to cast Shantoto is reduced by 3, so it could be a 1-drop 8K.
Nice.
When Shantoto enters the field, choose one character other than card name Shantoto in your break zone and pop that bad boy in your hand. For ice, one and a crystal, remove Shantoto from your hand from the game. Dull all the forwards opponent controls, and you can only use this ability if Shantoto is in your hand. So a surprise dulling of all forwards for basically 4 CP and a crystal, right? Because you got to discard Shantoto for 2 CP, and then you need an ice and 1 more CP and a crystal. A surprise dulling of all forwards. Not to mention that it could be a 1-drop 8K, and not to mention that you can rescue a character from the break zone into your hand, so get some recursion on entry. So it's a card that we often write, it's an ETB game. Does it get you value the minute you play it? Well, yeah, it's going to get you some recursion. You can make it a really above curve 8K body, and it's got that surprise effect, which is, I mean, that feels like being Bahamut zeroed, Kronos. Like, it just, when somebody Bahamut zeros you and you're like, shit, I just lost. Like, this card can do that.
Yeah, except I think you could play around Bahamut Zero easier. Also, Bahamut Zero costs 6. I mean, I'm not saying Bahamut Zero is a bad card. I think it's a really good card. I just think this card's really good because it's a forward that's kind of like a summon that does a lot. Sometimes she's +1. Sometimes she comes in at 1 and gets you a card.
Yeah.
I mean, that's never bad. She's Shantoto outside of Earth, which is great.
About time.
So I think she's super playable. She's one of my favorite cards out of this group. I like her a lot. I think you're gonna see her a lot. I'd be surprised if you don't, honestly.
I mean, the only person that isn't running this, if at least experimenting with it, I should say, is the person that is absolutely dependent on Earth Shantoto in the deck as their fail-safe for a board clear, right? I mean, that's the only reason I think you don't try this. And there's so many board clears that you might be able to find another way around that and test this card out. What do you think, Tark? Look at her eyes. Damn.
She's all crazy. I know she's one of your favorite characters from 11, but
no doubt.
This card is awesome. Like Chrono said, if you could drop her for 1 and then you get another card in your hand, like where's the downside in that for an 8K forward? That's awesome. Then, like you said, surprise. Oh, by the way, you're not completely open to me. I'm just gonna wreck your face now. So yeah, she's great.
Yeah, the last thing you want to hear again going against an ice deck when this card's is your opponent's saying, I'd like to respond on your main too. Like, fuck, no, don't do it. You got 2 ice backups up and a card in hand. Don't do it. And you have 1 crystal. That is, again, something to consider. Does cost a crystal, so you are going to have to generate crystals. It can be done. It can be done. Kronos, I'm going to let you go first on this one. Although I think we're probably going to agree here.
Maybe I'm overrating this card, but I think this card's a 10. I really do. I think she's crazy good. I think she mitigates like playing multiple copies of her too because of the hand effect. So a lot of times you see like people have S effects to like warrant play multiples of a character. You're kind of doing that with this character in the same vein. I really like her. I think she's extremely good.
I got to agree. Yeah, I'm gonna put it at. I'm gonna put it at a 10. I could see putting it at a 9.5 too, because it is in ice, which isn't exactly super meta right now, but ice splashed in things is all over the board. So yeah, I mean, I could see you trying this in decks that aren't predominantly ice. You know, you really only need to be able to get 1 ice CP to make this work.
Yep.
It's not overly dependent on you being in ice. So will it see play in some meta decks like Sky Pirates or Storm and stuff like that? Maybe. You know, there's an argument. Maybe Sky Pirates is a little tough because you want to do certain things with names and stuff, but I could see experimenting with it. So I'm going to give it that 10 too, because I think you could see this in meta decks, even if it doesn't generate a meta deck in and of itself. What do you got, Tark?
Giving it a 10. She's just so strong, and she's got crazy eyes. So what's not to love about her?
Oh, that effect is scary. That effect is scary. We'll see. We'll see. Next up, we've got our Wool sliding into Wind. Our Wool. 5-drop 9K forward. The cost required to cast Wool is reduced by 1 for each character of cost 5 or more you control. It cannot become 0. The forwards of cost 5 or more other than Wool you control gain. This forward cannot be chosen by your opponent's summons or abilities. When you cast a character of cost 5 or more, draw a card. That only triggers once per turn. That is a lot of 5s.
Yeah.
That is a lot of text pointed at 5s. So you got an already 5-drop that is totally reliant on 5 drops. But having all of them not be able to be chosen by summons or abilities is that's pretty powerful. That's pretty powerful. Shields are good. Shields are good. Free cards when you play a character of cost 5 or more is good. Wool getting cheaper by you already fronting a few 5s. Pretty good. There are 5s that are all over the place. Tyro, you get a 5-drop backup out right away. Go search for something. So it's not out of the realm of possibility that you could get this cat down to 3 pretty quickly with some core staple cards that are played right now. But how many decks could capitalize like this? I think this is a really stupid early game. Like, this could really put some pressure with a few spends earlier. I think it actually, ironically, gets a little bit weaker later. In the fact that you're trying to shoot for the win. You probably aren't spending a lot of 5s. I really wish, I want to see it work in a Verstale deck, but Wind isn't generally, a color you're putting too much into a Verstale deck. I love my current Verstale deck. And I saw the text here and I was like, I hate your color. I hate that you're green, but I love everything about you for that deck. I'm still going to try and splash it in there and see what happens. But I think this one's a little bit of a mixed bag for Maytark.
Yeah, it just seems really cost heavy for it to have real effectiveness. That's a lot of 5s. 5 on top of 5 on top of 5. It's 5 squared? No, something like that. There's just a lot of cost to it, and yeah, nothing really prevents him from getting nuked out. So I mean, he's meh.
He does create a bit of a lightning rod, though, right, Kronos? Like in Wind, which doesn't generally have lightning rods. He does create a bit of a lightning rod in, hey, before you can hit anything, you got to hit this.
Yeah, I guess my thing is like, I think he's a cool card, actually. Like, I'm not mad that he's got Predator or anything. I think you could experiment with him in some cool ways. Just don't know how good those ways are. Like you said, Verstale, right? Which I think, you could try it. But like you also already
I don't think
pointed
it's going to
out,
be great.
I think it just messes with your consistency.
Yeah.
I don't really know what this guy's doing that like 3-drop Y'shtola doesn't already do, and like protection, for example. I mean, sure, you could maybe set up some boards that like Y'shtola would have trouble protecting, that this guy just protects everything. You see, Tiro is a good example though. Like, I mean, play a Tiro, search it, and draw it a card. That's gonna feel really good for sure. Yeah. But then you got to play this guy too, and I just don't know if he warrants a spot in a lot of those decks that are playing those cards. That's
it's weird for me because you want to play him later, but I think he gets weaker later.
Yeah,
like you want to get a few 5-drops out, but generally, besides Tiro, which you see played turn 2 pretty often. 1 backup turn 1, Tiro turn 2. Besides him, like you want to wait, but then, okay, do I really need you now that we've waited?
Yeah, the thing is, right, like before you play him, you have to play the other stuff. So technically they're unprotected until he comes out.
Right.
So it's like, it's kind of weird. Again, I think he's cool design. I just don't think he's very good.
What do you
That's
think,
kind of
Tark?
where my head's at.
If I had to rate him, maybe a 6. He's got, a good power set. Yeah, I wouldn't put him out by himself. You'd want to have other cards for them
Well, yeah,
to get the
yeah.
protection. And I think there's another, 5 wind out there, legend wise, that's better. So
I think there's better ways to do what you're trying to do with this card in a more consistent manner in a greater multitude of decks. I'm going to put it at a 5. I don't hate him. I just don't think we're going to see a lot of them.
Yeah, I'll be a little bit more harsh. I'm gonna say a 4. But
4.
again, I think from a design perspective, I think he's cool. Which you need those cards, honestly.
Yeah.
So
Then we get to the other wind legend.
yeah,
5 drop
one.
8K Cecil. When Cecil enters the field, you may play one character of cost 4 or less from your hand onto the field. When it enters the field, if it's a category 4 character, choose up to 2 backups and activate them. When one or more characters you control are chosen by your opponent's summons or abilities, if your opponent doesn't pay 2 CP, cancel their effects. Cancel their effects. Tark, you like this one, so I'm going to let you go first. You are all over this one.
Okay, so I could play him for 5, like the 5 for wall. Okay. But then I can play another card on top of that and activate some of that, CP that I just used to activate Cecil. And then I'm going to hamstring my opponent on their summons and abilities. All around, yes, this is awesome.
Hard to argue. I was actually surprised, Kronos, when this one said summons or abilities. Mm-hmm. I would have expected it out of the box to have been one or the other.
Yeah, I like this guy too. I'm not like crazy high on him though, I don't think. But it's interesting. I've always liked the tax effects, but I feel like they've never quite made it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. You didn't see tax
then,
decks all over the place. Yeah.
But it's interesting that he affects both for sure. A lot of other ones have been a bit more narrow. And it's not just like you don't just have to play this guy in category 4. You just get an extra effect. So it doesn't really feel like you need to like cater. Like you don't have to play like a straight up Final Fantasy 4 deck to get him to work.
Yeah.
Which is cool. It's just if you have some other 4 cards that you can play. And to be fair, I don't know a lot of the other 4 supports, so maybe there's more support than I'm aware of that makes him even better. But just on the first read, like I think he's just good. I don't think he's like bad or anything. But I don't think he's really breaking the game to me.
I think I'm going to rate him a little higher than you. And that might just be because of more Cat 4 recent experience than anything. I'm going to put this guy at like an 8.5. I think there's some stupid stuff that could be done here. I like this card a lot. I don't even feel bad paying 5 for it, but if I can sneak in and pay 3, getting that 2 activate, I feel even better. And it is a hamstringing card to Tark's point. It really is. When one or more. It doesn't say when more than one. It's when one or more. So basically any summon or any ability that chooses and it's characters, not even forwards. And that's dangerous. That's dangerous.
Yep. And it's also it's specific. Both effects are character too, which actually makes it a lot stronger.
Yeah.
So he can play a backup and then activate it as well. Like he could play a 4 CP or less backup. So he could play like a searcher because most searchers are 3 or 4. Get you a card, then activate the searcher if it happens to be category 4. And then you have access to that backup that you wouldn't have normally had access to for a whole other turn. They could do some pretty cool things.
Yeah, I think I'm going to put it at like 8.5. Tark?
I was going to say somewhere between 8 and 9. 8.5 sounds good, yeah.
Yeah. Kronos, you're going to go, I think you're backstepping off of us a little bit here, but not much.
I think for me, he's about a 7. Yeah, I think he's good. I would probably need to see more from him. I think he's a card that you should definitely test and see what you can do. So
Aerith in Earth brings us some more play space that we haven't really messed with before. We kind of have, but not exactly the way this is worded. This is a lot of text. 2 drop 5K Earth forward. The forwards other than Aerith you control gain 2,000 power. That's a pretty substantial buff. When Aerith is put from the field into the break zone, you may remove Aerith from the game. When you do so, place 3 re-raise counters on Aerith, and at the beginning of main phase 1 during each of your turns, if 1 or more re-raise counters are placed on Aerith, remove one of them. Then, if there are no re-raise counters on Aerith, play Aerith onto the field. This effect will trigger only if Aerith is actually removed from the game. So you do have to do the remove to get the re-raise counters, and then basically 3 turns later, she pops back on the board, buffing everybody besides herself by 2k again. So it's a countdown to buffage is what I call this era. It's a countdown to buffage.
Nice.
I like the play space. I'm not high on this card. One, it's obviously slow, right? Being the whole countdown. And 2, I hate its name. Yes, getting a 2k buff to all your forwards is pretty awesome. Yeah, that is a sick buff to everybody but Aerith, right? 2k is a sick buff. I think there's better ways to buff. I think, this is so telegraphed that it's easy to work around, or easier to work around. If you have the answer, then you know exactly when to use it. And unfortunately, I just think there's better cards named Aerith. Does that mean that we might not see this pop up in some non-Cat 7? I think in a Cat 7 deck, you're definitely running a different Aerith. I cannot. If you're even
playing her at all. Yeah.
If you're running Aerith in your Cat 7, it's not this one. But could we see her pop up in some other decks that aren't Cat 7? Maybe.
Yeah.
Maybe. 2k is a strong buff. 2k takes all those 5s and makes them 7s. That's good. But I just think there's a lot of answers. I'm not high on this card. I'm going to give it a 5. But that's just because I'm not high on this card myself. It's not something I'm going to experiment or play with. What do you got, Kronos?
Yeah, I don't like this card either. I actually think this card's borderline bad. Again, I think the design is kind of cool. It's thematic. I really like Cat 7. Final Fantasy 7 is my favorite game. I played a lot of Cat 7 when I played. Hell, the last tournament I played in was with Avalanche Operatives. I just don't see where she goes. I think she's too easy to play around. She's very slow.
Yeah.
The thing is because she doesn't buff herself too, you're really susceptible to just combat trick stuff. If I can just kill her while we're fighting, and now all of a sudden all your forwards
it's a 2 for 1 or a 2 for 0.
Yeah, so that's just really, and then you have to wait 3 turns for her to come back. I really think if you're gonna have an effect like this, she needs to have an ETB. Honestly, when she
I think that's what they look at it. They're like, she does have an ETB. She adds 2k power to everybody.
I guess. But some kind of recurring effect that I get.
Yeah. No, I'm with you.
Yeah. So I'm gonna give her a 3. I don't really like her at all, honestly.
Wow.
I just don't know where she goes at
Tark?
all.
I just think she's cheap. A cheap 2 CP for 2k power on all your forwards. I'll give her a 5.5. It's cheap buffage, and yes, you can work around her. I just don't see as much downside to playing her. Again, maybe not in a Cat 7 deck. Just in some Earth Wind, something you can get a lot of forwards out, and she can kind of be a lightning rod.
Continuing with Earth. Yeah. 6-drop Kieran, 9k, Brave, can't become dull by your opponent's summons or abilities. The job Shijin forwards you control gain 1k power. When Kieran enters the field, reveal the top 5 cards of your deck, play 1 forward of cost 4 among them onto the field, and return the other cards to the bottom of your deck in any order. Let's just go ahead and pretend the third line doesn't exist, okay? Let's just all agree Brave is good. Can't become dull by summons or abilities is good. Revealing 5 cards and playing a forward of cost 4 among them onto the field and return the others. We'll talk about whether that's good or not in a second here. But that third line, the job Shijin forwards you control gain 1,000. You don't worry about that, guys. Don't worry about that one. The Shijins in this set are horrible. Like
At least they're there. I've seen them release cards like this that don't even have
that's
any
true.
support.
That's true. That's true.
Yeah.
So a 6-drop 9 that could net you another body, can't become dull and brave. What do you think, Kronos?
Is this guy better than Mott? I don't think so, right? I feel like that's who he like compares against. Like Mott searches. He can't become dull. It works with monks, which is like what you want to do.
Yeah, mod is specific to monk though, right?
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, I guess like maybe if you're playing, I don't know. I mean, I don't really like this guy. I think he's a bit too vanilla, and there's people that do stuff just the same or better than him for the archetypes that they want to go in. It's nice.
So I mean, obviously the cost 4 is there because
Yeah.
the Shijins are cost 4. But here's the thing, gang. Read carefully. It does not say or less. I mean, you have to hit.
Honestly, I missed that. That makes it even worse.
Did you miss that? Yeah.
Even worse. That makes
Play
it even
one forward of cost 4 among them onto the field. And it's made to be played with these Shijins thematically because they cost 4. But you kind of like, well, where else can I get this? There are other cards in the set that I think make this potentially a little dangerous, not in and of itself, but with some of the oddball jobs that we've seen in the new set. Madams, let's say. I think you could have a little bit of fun with some stuff in there, specifically being cost 4. But yeah, I kind of agree with you. This isn't great. Not madams. Yeah, well, yeah, madam, but I'm talking about the job Morze's soiree members.
Yeah, I think I saw one of those cards.
Those could be fun. Those could be fun with this card to pop for free. You're talking about Christmas land plays, though.
Yeah.
When well, if I pop this, and into this, I win. Well, okay, yeah.
Yeah.
You know what? And if you do, I'm going to let you win. I hate this card. Tark, what do you got?
If the support of the Shijin is garbage, I mean, how strong is Earth Ice?
It's been strong before.
It's not terribly strong right now.
Kieran, if you're able to pop a Shantoto and then put another card into your hand, I mean, I can see some chain aspects that he can do.
But that's the thing. You're always like, if I pay 6 and I hit this and I hit this, I feel really good. If I pay 6 in any other circumstance, I feel bad.
You feel bad. You almost want to work around it, but he's not that good to want to work around that.
It's too easy to whiff, too. Like,
it's so easy to whiff.
If you're paying 6,
I mean, unless you specifically construct a deck aimed at capitalizing. Right. So all of your forwards, and by the way, it's just forward too. It's not character. I got to give this one a 3. I think this is the worst legend for me.
Yeah,
and
2.5.
I mean, there's another one coming up that you might be able to sway me. We'll talk in a minute, but yeah, I'm gonna give it a 3. 2.5 from you, Tark.
Yeah.
Kronos, you at a 3?
I'll give it a 2 just to be worse than Aerith, I guess. Yeah, Earth Legends are not.
Then we get to my favorite element, and that's Lightning. 3-drop 7K, Black Waltz 3, job Black Mage. When Black Waltz 3 is discarded from your hand due to an ability, choose one forward, deal it 4,000 damage. That kind of goes along with a set of Black Waltzes that have been released in this set, where if they're forced discards out of your hand and you opt to discard them, they get you some extra effect, which I do like. A little bit of penalty or pushback on discard. I think that type of effect, I've seen it in other games, and I think it's been missing from FFTCG for a while, so I like seeing that it's here. When Black Waltz 3 is put from the field into the break zone, choose up to 2 job Black Mages other than card name Black Waltz 3 in your break zone, add them to your hand, and a 0-cost action ability. Discard one job Black Mage from your hand. When you do so, choose one forward of cost 3 or less. Opponent controls, break it. I'm going to say, much like Lady Lilith, this was one that when I first saw it spoiled, I was like, ugh. And I saw the other Black Waltzes at the same time. And if you go back and look at the Black Mages that are already in the game, there's a bit of problems with them. because they are not job black mages. They are card name black mages, but these specifically look at job black mages for certain effects, so it creates a little bit of a problem. But the more and more I look at Black Waltz 3, the more and more I actually really like Black Waltz 3. I think, just being able to just discard a job black mage from your hand and crack a forward, and yeah, it does have that cost 3 limitation, right?
Mm-hmm.
But there is so much in the, like, Raideo hates this card. I would... Raideo is in so many decks, is the linchpin of so many decks right now, absolutely hates this card. Most of the Sky Pirates hate this card. Most of the Samurais, with the exception of Tenzin, of course, hate this card. Unmitigated breaking of cost 3 or less could be very, very strong right now. Could be very, very strong right now. But is the rest of the deck strong enough to be carrying enough job black mages in the deck so that you can get this effect at will without compromising the deck's own ability to go ahead and win a game, if need be? I love the play space. I gotta say, the ugly summer bee is growing on me. I'm gonna give it that. I think this is abusable, guys. I think this one's abusable. I'm going to put it like an 8.5, maybe even a 9 right now. And I would not be surprised if it ends up being a 2. But I think it's abusable, and I think it's well-timed in the current meta. I really do. I'm going to put it at 9. I'll lock it in at 9. Kronos, what do you got?
So, I don't think this card could possibly be a 2, honestly. Even if you don't get the second effect, I don't think it's that bad.
Right.
Man, if this card existed like 10 sets ago, though, be real good.
Yeah.
But no, I think it's still pretty solid now. I think just because the first effect kind of works with the last effect, and then on top of that, if your opponent's playing discard, now you get like some other ways, like you can now discard this guy and it doesn't feel as bad.
Yeah, you get a little something.
You're hitting a lot of cards at 3, a pretty good amount. Not everything, but I think 3 is like 2 drops are pretty strong, and 3 drops too. Look at Avalanche, like you're hitting a lot of that stuff too. You can really mess with them before combat. He kind of works like Shantoto, where he's like kind of a summon a little bit on a creature. So I don't know if you have to commit all the way to get the second effect, but if you do, it's nice. It does kind of suck that it's not card named Black Mage.
Yeah,
I think it'd be a lot better there. But I'm gonna give it like a 6.5, 7. I think it's a solid card.
Oh, and it has recursion. I mean, what more could you want? Tark.
I don't know. I could want it to hit a little bit chunkier, but then of course the cost's got to be more than just 0 to activate it. A 6. I don't know the decks that you would play it in. Not having the experience on it. It seems like a pretty.
You play
cool
it. You play it in mine.
Play it in
yours.
Yeah.
That's the deck.
The lightning deck. Yeah, you play it in yours.
Y'shtola. Getting another Yish. 3-drop 7K. When Y'shtola enters the field, choose a forward opponent controls. Until the end of the turn, it loses 4,000 power for each job Scion of the 7th Dawn forward you control. Dull 1 active job Scion of the 7th Dawn forward. Choose 1 category 14 forward, and until the end of the turn, it gains haste and first strike. And she has a special for a discard of card name Y'shtola, 2 lightning and dulling. Deal 9k damage to all the forwards other than job Scions of the 7th Dawn. So a little bit of a board clear on a forward action going here. I'm going to keep mine short and simple. You're probably going to run different Y'shtolas. Like, if you're playing Scions, this really only works in Scions. Like, this has to be a Scions deck.
Yes.
Unless you're just totally happy with Y'shtola being in a Cat 14 deck, which I think there's better ways to build a Cat 14 deck. I don't like this. I think it's neat that it has a board clear. I do think that's neat. So does it give you the ability to maybe run both and see what happens in a Scions deck? Because you have special discard fodder. You're not getting your hand bricked, so maybe there's an argument that, you 3-2 or you 2-2 of. I'm not a huge Scions player. I've dabbled in it. So maybe I'm just not. It's got a special, so I'm kind of talking myself into it maybe not being as bad as I originally thought. Now, I still think you probably at the end of the day run more of the Earth Y'shtola than this one, or you run the Earth Wind 3-drop Y'shtola that has its own effects that don't rely on Scions and is hasty already, and you can't take damage. And I think I got to put this one at like a 4, gang. She's strong. She's got a really unfortunate name.
Yeah.
Tark, what do you think?
Having played with the other Y'shtola in those pre-built decks that we did, yeah, this one isn't as strong as that one. You're right. Just because I can't, I want to play both of them, but I can't.
Well, I mean,
does it
maybe
count when
you
they wear
can
different
though.
outfits? They wear different outfits, so that's a different Y'shtola, right?
Play title.
You play title.
All right.
Yeah.
Anyways, yeah, it's not as good. It's still good, like on its own. Maybe a 6. Give her a 6.
All right. Kronos?
Yeah, I think my biggest issue is Scions even good anymore? I don't know.
It really isn't. It really isn't.
I'm not saying you can't do stuff with them. They're cool synergy stuff. But
They really do, and sometimes they just jump down your throat and you can't do anything about it either.
Yeah, but like from a tribal standpoint, like if you're looking at tribal decks, I feel like a lot of other tribal decks have overshadowed them at this point. I mean, Scions were pretty good. Like again, like we're talking like 10 sets ago now at this point. If you are playing Scions, I think you could run 3-1 just because she has the S and you can use the Earth toward the S if you play her to maybe win a game, kill something on the way in. I think the Earth one's definitely better. So yeah, I'm probably leaning toward like a 5 just because I don't think Scions are very good, and even if you're running her, you're probably only running 1 at most.
Yep. I can't disagree. Then we got Tidus, 3-drop Earth, 7K, cannot be blocked. When Tidus is put from the field into its owner's deck, draw 3 cards. Gross. When Tidus is chosen by your opponent's summons or abilities, you may put Tidus at the bottom of its owner's deck. When you do so, choose one forward opponent controls, put it at the bottom of its owner's deck. So if they target him, you have the option of tossing him at the bottom of your deck and making them put a forward at the bottom of their deck and going ahead and drawing 3 cards.
Yeah. He's gross.
Job Guardian. He's really gross. He's really gross. Kronos, I'm going to let you go first.
See, I'm not super sure where to put this guy because I think his text is good. I don't know if he just like slots straight into like water decks. And I don't know if water is very strong by itself right now because I feel like every time I see water, it's just Sky Pirates. And I don't think this fits. It's great, but like Typhon kind of does a similar thing. Not quite as good. You're not putting on the bottom, but you're still making him wait 2 turns. And it synergizes a lot better with the rest of the deck. I do like this
but
card,
here's the thing, though. If you Typhon him, which you can, Typhon is not restricted to just your opponents. You could play Typhon and bounce Tidus to the 5th spot in your deck, draw 3, and guarantee that you're going to draw Tidus next turn, provided they don't force a shuffle or damage or whatever.
True. It's just, I feel like every time I see people talk
but there's probably better ways that you want to use Typhon, I arguably.
Yeah. That, and it's just like the Sky Pirate list in general just feels like I don't know how much space there is otherwise you're like either gimping your Sky Pirate stuff, and if you're playing like the Sky Pirate Dancer stuff, you have no room, and you don't want to get rid of like Leviathans for this because you kind of need that to like kill things.
Yeah.
But I do really like this card. I think he's really cool. Just because I like the design and I think he could potentially be strong, I'm gonna say an 8. But I don't know if I'm overrating him. To be honest, that's kind of like I feel like I'm overrating him.
It's a lot of good text. It is a lot of good text. I think somebody's going to find a home. for Mr. Blitzballer here. His job's Guardian, by the way. That is something to make note of.
He's not Cat 10.
Yeah, he is.
He's both.
He is?
He's DFF
Yeah,
and
he's
10.
both.
Oh,
he's
okay,
he's
yeah,
D-
there's
he's
a
Dissidia.
hyphen there. I
Yeah,
didn't see it.
yeah. He's Dissidia and 10.
Gotcha.
I don't think you're wrong though, Kronos. Like I'm trying to find ways to say you're wrong giving this an 8. I actually think somebody out there, they're gonna find a way to make this a 10. Like they're I don't think it'll like become meta or anything, but I think this can be violently abused, like to disgusting levels. You just got to figure out the best way to do it. The best way to do it. I'm going to put it at an 8 as well. My only gripe, if it's even a gripe, is that he doesn't do anything on entry. So it is a total reactionary card if you're not going to preemptively shove him in your deck yourself. He's 100% reactionary.
Yeah, I guess the first line of text though, just to talk myself into like thinking these, but
he can't be blocked. Period. No qualifier.
You kind of have to do something about him, otherwise, just free damage every turn. So
yeah, I'm gonna put him in an 8. I'm gonna mess with this one, even though I'm not generally a water player. I'm gonna mess with this one. Tark.
Yeah, 8.5. You have to do something with him. Can't being blocked. You have to do something with him, which means you're probably going to get those 3 cards. So he needs to find a spot in that water deck or some hybrid. I think he's awesome.
Finishing water, we have Maya, another Maya, a 1-drop 7K. There you go, way above curve with haste. Oh yeah. Oh, wait. Maya can't attack or block. Oh. Dull action ability. Does have haste, so you can do it as soon as it's played. Cast 1 summon from your hand. The cost required to cast it is reduced by 3 and can be paid using CP of any element. It can't become 0, though. Remove that summon from the game after use instead of putting it into the break zone. I think there's fun to be had with this card. There's definitely fun to be had here. But I don't know how, I haven't sold myself on how much fun, Tark.
I think it needs to, if you can get a second or third, or more summons, it really starts to benefit. You don't really get the benefit until you've had multiple casts. And you're going to need a significant amount of summons to really make that work. She's interesting. Yeah.
It does potentially, Kronos, let you splash summons of any color into a water deck.
Yeah.
That's kind of useful. That could be kind of useful. I mean, it does have haste, so you can get value from it right away. It, of course, can't attack or block, so it's a useless body unless, you were going to do something goofy and blank it.
Yeah, you could color.
You could Cuculain your own Maya and declare a block.
It could win you the game.
It could. Awesome. Definitely could.
I think she's really cool. Like, I think she's another one that's just like a cool design space. She has some potential, right? Like, there's a lot of cards she just affects because like it's literally every summon in the game. But we've seen cards like this in water before and they never really pan out, which is why I'm kind of hesitant to say that she's any good. But I think when you read a card like this, there's always potential that it could do something. Like if it gets combined with a couple cards that I'm just not seeing, and all of a sudden she's just doing nutty things and she's paying for some 6. She's like casting Bahamut Zeros and water decks and stuff.
I also think, to just throw this out here, not to interrupt you, I apologize. Yeah. I think she's infinitely more interesting in a pre-Raideo world.
Also true, yeah.
In a post-Raideo world where CP and color to cast summons doesn't matter as long as you get the counters on Raideo.
Yeah. I think the issue, even before Raideo came out too, with cards like this is Earth exists, right? You can already kind of do it with Earth. Like, even back in the day, you had Earth just running like fire cards, even when fire was not considered good, but they had good summons. because they could.
Yeah.
So I don't really think you couldn't do what she does kind of already, other than reducing their cost by 3. So
I'm giving her a 5, Tark. What about you?
I'd say a 6. The potential to use any summon is pretty interesting. A lot of different things you could do with her on that.
I might even be given. I might actually change mine. I think I'm going to give her a 4.
I
think there's definitely fun to be had, but I don't think we're going to see much of it.
I'll take your place and give her a 5, but I could probably be convinced to go lower, to be honest. Yeah.
And then we get to our final 2, our Light and Dark Legends. First up, we go with Light in the Warrior of Light, another 2-drop 5K. For each forward other than Warrior of Light you control, Warrior of Light gains 1,000 power. Remove Warrior of Light from the game. All the forwards you control gain this forward cannot be broken until the end of the turn. You can only use this ability during your opponent's turn. So only during your opponent's turn, you can make everybody invincible. Cannot be broken.
I prefer this wall over the wind one.
Well, that's 2 different cards, sir. That's Warrior of Light and Wool. 2 different cards, sir.
Yeah, he's a warrior of
Warriors of Light.
He's a warrior of dawn. Get it right, actually.
Yeah. But I prefer this one. The cost is pretty cheap at just 2. He can kind of defend himself by getting the attack power from other forwards, and then he can just kind of shield by sacking himself. I like him.
Yeah, there's nothing I don't like about this card, but I just don't think it's going to see a lot of play. Like, there's nothing bad about, in my brain, there's nothing bad about this card. I start to Chronos kind of go, all right, what decks do you use it in then?
Right.
Well, obviously, first off, you kind of bring to mind, should I put it in a Warrior of Light deck?
Mm-hmm.
And I kind of go, right now, no. You're probably going with Light Wool, or you're probably going with Light Refia in current builds. And there's some other ways you may go with it. I've seen some cheeky people putting 3-drop Light Zidanes in and stuff. But, if this is going to take your light slot, does this beat other cards in that deck? And for me personally, the answer is no. All right, then start looking at other decks that might benefit from some protection in elements that don't generally have protection. Is this worth taking the light or dark slot in those decks? And I still kind of come back to no. I love everything about the card. I love its cost. I love its own self-buff. I love its ability to make an invulnerable defensive turn when your back's against the wall. But I just don't think it sees a lot of play. I'm going to put it at 5.
Yeah, kind of agree with you. I don't think its effects are terrible or anything. I just don't really know how you fit it in. I really wish it didn't have that last line of text. It just makes it so much weaker to me. Like
that it's a defensive play.
If I could use this anytime, yeah, you could warrant putting in a Warrior of Light to like protect your Ferris.
Exactly.
But like the problem is, if you play this dude thinking like, okay, I'm gonna protect and try to survive another turn, and then it's just like end of your turn, I'll kill your guy. See you later. Yeah. Bye bye. That feels really bad. I mean, and he's a 2-drop, so he's gonna get hit by a lot of stuff. I like the bottom effect. I just wish it didn't say only during your turn, but I guess they probably tested that and decided if they didn't do that, it'd probably be too strong. So I think he just kind of falls into like the void of like just stuff you don't really see. I think that's kind of, so I'm gonna probably give him like a 4 too. I don't really know where he's gonna find a home, honestly.
Tark, you like this one?
I do,
and I don't disagree with you. I like him. I just don't know where you play him.
Yeah, I just think there's better light cards, and with it being so restrictive for that element, I agree with you. I like him, but he probably just gets a 5 or a 6.
Finishing
probably
up
just other light cards.
With Dark, 11 cost 8K forward named Chaos. The cost required to play or cast Chaos is reduced by 2 for each element among characters your opponent controls. When Chaos enters the field, your opponent selects one forward other than light or dark they control, and you gain control of it. Has an action ability for dull and putting one character you control owned by your opponent into the break zone. Choose a forward, break it. So in theory, cheapen him, play him, take control, and if he survives to the next turn or you find a way to give him haste, you go ahead and kill that forward by moving it to the break zone as part of cost to go ahead and kill a second forward. And then you're done.
And then you're done.
And then you're done. Unless, in theory, now hear me out, Kronos. In theory, you are playing multiple means of taking control of opponents' forwards. There's not a lot of them in the game, but there are a few other methods that you can take control of forwards that your opponent owns. So maybe you could pop this again at some point. Use that action ability. Because it doesn't say that it has to be the forward Chaos took control of. You just have to take control of one. Have I swayed you at all? Or is this the worst legend for you in the set?
I don't know if I think it's the worst legend, but it's not great. I mean, we're talking about playing cards like Shuyin and stuff. We're really going down a bad rabbit hole. I just think he's too slow, honestly. Like, and I also I don't like being reliant on my opponent for things. Like as far as like how much my stuff costs.
Yeah.
But I mean, they play 4 things. That's pretty feasible. Now this guy's -8, like -8 CP at that point. He's pretty cheap. But you still gotta wait a turn to do something. But they don't go back, right? When he takes it, he just takes it.
He takes it.
So
in theory, you could go to combat on that subsequent turn, swing with Chaos, swing with the forward you've taken control. Oh, you can't swing with Chaos, sorry. So swing with the forward you've taken control, and then use Chaos to break that forward and break another forward.
Right. I think he runs into the same issue. It's like he's a dark card now. I have to think about that because you can't just pump dark cards into your deck. Maybe people that are playing what's that card, Necron? They're probably pretty hype about this. I don't know who's still playing that card, but I don't think he's awful. I definitely think the Earth cards are worse than him, but I'm probably still gonna put him at a 4 or 5. I'll give him a 5 just because I think it's possible he could cost 3 and do something, but you still gotta wait a turn.
Oh, man, you got to get him to. You tried to get him to cost 3?
Because what? I mean, they have 4 characters, right?
Of different elements.
Oh, I didn't even see that part. Oh, he's terrible. Never mind. He's
the worst legend.
No,
I was gonna be no, the 4 is wrong. It's a 1.
Okay, so the
by
most
2 for each element among the characters your opponent
So
controls.
the cheapest he's gonna cost is 7, probably.
Yeah,
probably.
7's probably relative. And for 7, I mean, I still think he's better.
And
I'd
maybe
rather play him than Eris or Kieran. But
maybe the occasional 5.
But I'll say he's a 3. Yeah, I think he's much worse now. I missed that text, honestly. Yeah, so he's bad.
I'm going to put this at 2. This is I don't want to spoil Love It or Leave It, but this is my least favorite personal legend of the set. I just think when you go light and dark cards, because of the high restriction, high value of those positions in decks, I think we could do better than this as far as developing what they can do. It's an interesting effect. I kind of dig the play space. That's why it's not a 1 or a 0. I do like the whole take control of your opponent characters and do wacky things with them. And this can eventually buy you a 2 for none. Eventually, if you can get it to roll out. Because you've got to take control, and then you've either got to give haste or Chaos still has to be alive next turn. And he's only 8K. So, it's not like he's power crept up out of most things. Not to mention that paying 5 or even 7, which is far more likely than paying 5, he dies to Amat. That sucks. I got to give it a 2. This is the worst legend for me in this set.
He's a big fat 1 for me. Yes, he's the worst legend in the set. And God forbid you play someone that's doing a mono deck and you have to pay 9. Good luck getting him out.
Yeah. You sit down with Chaos in your deck and you see Mono Fire on the other side. And you're just like, shit. He's going to cost 9.
It's never coming out. It's going to
and he's a dark card, so I can't even discard him.
Exactly. Where Warrior of Light, he could, find some uses. This guy's just no. No.
Let's finish it up, gentlemen, our FFTCG chat with Love It or Leave It. Love it or leave it's the way we finish every episode of the Relic Grind here. A little bit of a longer episode. The ones we review, the legends, are always a little bit longer. Make sure you chime in the comments on YouTube and Ready Check Radio. Give us a like, put a subscribe, a little click there, and let us know what your favorite legend in Final Fantasy TCG's Opus 16 Emissaries of Light set is. Love it or leave it. I give you something Square Enix related. You tell me whether you love it, want more of it, or leave it. Toss that shit away, throw it away. And the same way we always do it here when we do the Legends reviews. I want to love it and to leave it. What is your favorite legend of the set and your least favorite? I already gave you my least favorite in Chaos, so pretty easy one there. And I'm going to go with, for my favorite, it may not necessarily line up with my scoring because I take a bit more of like, how do you impact the meta into that? But my personal favorite, I think, is going to be that Ice Shantoto. And maybe it does match up with my scoring. I don't know if I gave one higher or tied it. But I'm going to go with that Ice Shantoto. That's one I can't wait to mess with, which is unusual for me. I'm generally jumping to the lightning cards, but I don't care about Y'shtola. Black Waltz 3 I do want to mess with, but I think I want to mess with Shantoto more. So love Shantoto, leave Chaos. By the way, on Chaos, we didn't even talk about that his name is frickin' Chaos. And so if you are color fixing with dark backup Chaos, this guy's, you can't use him. So let's go to Kronos next.
Yeah, so I think my favorite one's not necessarily the one I rate the highest. It'd probably be the one I'd try out if I was still testing a lot of stuff. So I think Cloud of Darkness is my personal favorite. I'd probably try to get that to work just because I think the effect's really cool. And if you can get it off, can do some unique things that can't really happen in the game currently. Least favorite is probably Kieran. I just think he's so bland. Like, at least Chaos has some interesting text. That guy, I don't even know what he does. So.
Tark.
I was going to go with Shantoto, but since you went with them, I'll do something a little different. I'm going to go with Squall. I think he's got a lot of cool stuff and can have a lot of combos. And Chaos is just awful. Just absolute trash. Where's Jack when you need to just...
That's going to do it for this episode of the Relic Grind. Remember, no show next week. We will be back on Monday the 25th, and then we'll start resuming Thursdays as we get into May, back into our normal schedule. Again, thank you, Kronos. Thank you, Tark, for working with me this month, allowing me to go and do a show on stage at the end of April again. That's going to do it for this episode. We will see you in 2 weeks. Make sure you enjoy 6.1. Let us know what you think about 6.1 in the comments there while you're chatting about your favorite FFTCG legends. Until 2 weeks from today, Kronos, where can everybody find you?
Yeah, same as always, Twitter. Can't wait to play the patch tomorrow. You know, Yoshi P gave me White Mage buffs on my birthday, so
yeah, happy birthday, Kronos.
Happy birthday, Kronos.
Yeah, so I'm gonna have to play that job tomorrow at some point. Maybe I'll take it into the new EX.
Tark.
Find me at Twitch, Twitter, YouTube, all at Tarkoth Gaming. We're playing Final Fantasy XIV all day tomorrow, and I'll probably put up a couple videos regarding the 24-man and maybe the EX as well. And then also check me out at Ready Check Radio, playing Strangers of Paradise on Saturday nights.
I'm Mike Byrne. You can follow me personally right there at Magic Man 1. But more importantly, follow at Ready Check Radio on Twitter, so that RC Radio, so you'll know every time we go live with one of our podcasts or stream with one of our volunteer streamers. Until next show, stay safe. See you on the servers.